I made a huge mistake when I was just learning Korean. I got this notebook and every word that I encountered anywhere, literally any new word, I would just write down the single word and what it meant. That was it. And that's how I thought, oh, this is how I'm supposed to learn vocabulary, write the word down. Do you think I went back to that book more than once to check the word? No. Do you think I remembered the words? Not most of them. Luckily, over the past 10 years of me learning over 12 languages to varying levels, I have come up with a few methods of learning vocabulary that actually works. Maybe you are in the situation of a ton of other language learners who usually say, I can understand, but I can't speak. Reasons that you are struggling to speak, apart from not having enough speaking practice, could be that your vocabulary, your active recall of your vocabulary is low. Perhaps you have learnt a lot of words, but you haven't had the opportunity to be using them in context. Or you've learned words that are really specific to one topic, but not to general daily conversation. That's actually happened to me in Hungarian because I really drill down into topics I'm interested in, like tech and AI. But if you put me in Hungary now and you ask me to go buy some bananas or order a coffee, I will probably struggle a little bit. But if you ask me to give a presentation about how AI works, I can do that because that's what I've been learning. But there I've identified a vocabulary gap, which means, okay, I should probably be focusing on learning vocab related to ordering things at restaurants, like what are the names of the fruits, etc. So you want to identify first, where are my vocabulary gaps, / where do I want to work on? If you know, like me a few years ago when I was doing my internships in Japanese design companies, I knew that I needed to learn a lot of vocabulary related to graphic design in Japan. So I looked up articles, videos, forums, anything that I could find that had graphic design terms in Japanese. I got a ton of books which I would read. I would go to galleries or museums in Japan and take the pamphlets and find the words from there. And I learned the vocab related to art and design in Japanese really quickly because it was so urgent for me to know it. And I was so interested and excited that I didn't even need to make flashcards. Identify, number one, the interest that you have, but don't forget the knowledge gap. So specify to yourself, which kind of vocabulary topics do you want to learn? At this point, you might be wondering, where do I find words, especially if I'm a beginner? I really like to watch content and immerse in native content where you can get that auditory listening part, plus you can get the visuals of having a transcription and subtitles. So a platform that I really love using that I've mentioned before is called Lingopie. And on there you can get hundreds of hours video content, TV shows, lessons, movies, etc. in a whole bunch of different languages. And they're constantly adding new shows and new languages. There are subtitles that you can click on and get the word from. And they also make flashcards for you to easily review your words. Remember that you have to make a contextual connection with the words you're learning. If you're watching a show and you're repeating a sentence that someone said on Lingopie, and you're clicking on the word and saving it, you can do your shadowing there, you can say the sentence with them, but your brain is going to make that connection with, oh, the word teacup, I learned it from the Spanish show because somebody was holding a teacup and talking about something. I don't know. That's better than reading from a page that just says teacup is this, right? You're creating a contextual connection for your brain to be learning and hearing and seeing this word in different places.
Lingopie also has a feature called Say It, where you can practice your pronunciation by repeating phrases, and then you can actually get instant feedback from it. So while learning on vocabulary, you can actually improve your pronunciation and speaking skills too.
And I've been using Lingopie for 4+ years, so it's something I would definitely honestly recommend to you. So do check out Lingopie. You can get a 7-day free trial and a discount if you use my link in the description. The most important thing, which I've said in a ton of my videos before, is learn vocabulary in context. Now that would mean, number one, in context of a full sentence, number two, in context of a specific situation. I remember learning French at school, and my French teacher gave us a whole list of, I remember the picture still. It's a picture of a house with different rooms, and it had vocabulary of the couch, the picture, the bed, the bathroom, and we just had to learn those single words. It was never I want to buy a couch. That's a nice picture. Where is the bathroom? Like actual things you need to know to speak. It was just rote memorization of like, label this. How do you say bed in French? Like, c'est mon lit. Okay, I can say bed, but can I talk to you about the bed more than saying c'est mon lit? Not at that time when I was learning French in high school, no. Now, hopefully, yes. So earlier this year, I received a formal ADHD diagnosis, and I have realized that it really does work better for me to make my vocabulary learning something very exciting, different, new, and stimulating each time. So if I'm sitting and looking at a textbook and copying down words, the side of me that likes taking notes and writing, I enjoy it because it's like calming and relaxing. But the language learning brain in me is like, I'm not going to remember these. But if I turn it into a game for myself, if I turn it into something that's actually useful for my situation, you bet I'm going to remember that vocabulary. So let's imagine we're learning the furniture in French. You could walk around your room and stick sticky note labels on stuff. You could jump on your bed and repeat the word in your head out loud. So that would be a bit more kinesthetic. That's for people who really need to do stuff, get up and move. And let me show you these cute bananas I made yesterday. Wait, I will be back. Okay. I made this bread with air dry clay yesterday. It's like squishy, soft bread, du pain et du fromage aussi. C'est trop mignon, no? C'est mon petit fromage. So I was in a meeting yesterday and I was really struggling to focus. And I also made lemons. Little lemons. And a banana. So what am I trying to get at? What I've done here is I've worked with my hands. I've made something that's like stimulating and fun, but I can now associate it with vocabulary words. So if you're so inclined, you can turn your vocab learning into something really fun and tactile. What I find works for me is really repeating it over and over and over in my head, especially if you say it out loud. So while I'm building my clay banana, I was like, moles, moles, moles in Arabic. You can say a phrase like that over and over. So that's something really specific to me because I need to like move around and touch things, and I'm planning on making many more little air dry clay fruits, and I could just create a little collection of them and label them in Arabic. That's one way for me. That's just a way that I've made it interesting for myself. I need to be looking at things, touching things, moving around. Another thing that I found really cool is to listen to vocab a lot while you're doing stuff around the house or while you're walking. I also have sensory processing issues, so I'm very, very sensitive to noise. And more often than not, at home, I'm wearing noise-canceling earphones because of traffic. And when I wear those earphones, sometimes I'll put on a recording from an italki lesson that I had. I'll put on a podcast, and I'll just listen to the words over and over. So you really want to get the auditory part in. So we spoke about kinesthetic first, moving around, labeling things, building stuff with your hand, maybe writing stuff out big in different colors. That's if it works for you. Or if you're more auditory, which also works really well for me, is you want to hear this stuff over and over. What I found super beneficial is when I had a language exchange partner for Korean. He was learning English, I was learning Korean. It was during the Great Panini, and we would record our conversations. So while we were talking, I didn't need to worry about like, oh, am I writing down every single vocab word? I just recorded it on my phone. I remember so much of that vocab because it was very specific to something really emotional happening around us. And we were talking about the situation in Korea. And when I got home, which is also useful, is I would write down from memory, this is active recall, how many of the words can I remember? Like, what did I learn today? Okay, we spoke about that, let me write it down. And if I don't remember it, I go back to my audio recording or the transcript if you're working off from a podcast or something, and then you'll put down all of those vocab words. And that's where you get a really good auditory connection. Research has also proven that people are more likely to remember things that they come up with and that they hear in their own voice. Remember at the start of this video, I was like, have you ever had that you can understand but not speak? You really want to be practicing those speaking muscles. So if you encounter a vocab word or a phrase, especially if it's like something that you hear in a TV show, you want to shadow over it. You want to say it out loud. It's a good way to remember it because you hear it in your own voice. My other tip that's super important for learning vocab is that you want to use these words as much as possible. Remember what I was saying about that list of Korean words that I had in a notebook? It was just there. It was so crusty. Advanced words, beginner words. It was all a singular list, no theme, nothing. And I didn't go back to it because it was so boring. But now I learn my vocab words in themes and topics. Like I was saying with my Korean vocab partner, exchange partner, we were talking about a very specific topic, and I used auditory skills and active recall. And I'm going to get back to the part of actually using those words. I just want to say that when I do take Hungarian lessons, my tutor makes me read reading comprehension out loud.
Ha nem vagy biztos benne, if you're not sure of it, hogy jól mondod a szót, az AI meghallgatja. If you're not sure how to say a word, the AI can listen and say.
Then he will read it and I will repeat after him. That's for me to work on the pronunciation. And the more I'm reading a sentence, whether it's on my own or repeating after him or just seeing it on the screen, the more the cogs in my brain are working, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can see the context here, so this word must mean that. Or, okay, I see the suffix used there. It's a really weird thing when you get to a certain point in the language. You can kind of figure out what things mean if you read it over and over. And then when you're really stuck, or for me, the next step in my lesson is where my tutor will ask me, what does the sentence mean? If I get stuck on a word, I'm like, I have no idea what that means. He will tell me.
So it's called a program that can understand and work with languages?
Feldolgozni.
Work with?
Feldolgozni is like to process the like.
Nem értettem mindent.
And that interaction of having said the word out loud, remembering the moment of, I don't know what this means, and my tutor telling me, plus me being interested in the topic, I remember the word like that. I only had to hear the word mesterséges intelligencia twice in Hungarian, but now because it's a topic I'm interested in, I've said it out loud in my lessons, and I have had my tutor tell me to speak it out loud, etc. I didn't even need to write it down anywhere else. But the most important thing is you really want to be using these words. Now you need to say, how can I apply these words to my life? So my last tip for you is be very selective about the vocabulary you learn.
Of course, my camera had to die just as I was finishing off the video, so sorry for this part on my phone. But the last part that I was talking about is being so selective with your vocabulary. It's identifying, okay, if I'm A1 in this language and I want to visit the country in 6 months, what is the vocab that I need to know that's going to help me for my visit? If I'm going to a place that has a subway system, do I know all the words about buying a ticket, trains, how they work, getting around, transport, instead of just reading content that is not relevant to your level or your situation? It might be fun to read about football or cooking, but are you going to use that for your goals at your level? You can save these vocab words for later. There's a thing I've noticed with new language learners, especially people who are working from textbooks, that they tend to write down every single new word. Yes, you have good intentions, but you're loading your brain with too many words. If I'm trying to do more than 30 words, I'm not going to remember that. Especially if I'm not going to go through the word as a single word over and over. I need to be going through it in context of a full sentence, of a situation. I need to hear it, see it, speak it, etc. So be selective about the vocab words you need to know now. I just want to emphasize again, you need to use these words. Remember, you can learn as many words as you want and you can get them all correct in an exam when somebody asks you. But if you're not able to speak, then there is a big gap in your learning. What I like to do is take a sticky note and write down 3 to 5 words that I've learned this week that I want to use with somebody in conversation. So it could be in my Hungarian lesson, a new word I've learned about tech or science or research, and I'll put it on a sticky note on my computer screen, and when I talk to my tutor, I will look down and reference that word. And it's going to sit in my memory because we spoke about the topic and I used that word myself. I produced this sentence. Producing your own sentences is really wonderful. The only thing is you want to get them checked. So if you have a tutor or a friend, that's great. Otherwise, you can use some websites online to check places where you can upload your sentences and have people correct it for you. Those are my tips for vocabulary. I hope it was useful for you. Let me know what you would add in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. And if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of December and a new year. I hope you have a new year. I hope you have a good new year. Bye!